G'day guys, and welcome back to episode 10 of the Daily Discomfort Podcast. Today we're joined by Matty Stevens, who has not only climbed Mount Everest, but he's competed in multiple endurance events, all whilst juggling family and work. So today we're going to see what we can learn from Matty and how he's embraced discomfort in his life. Matty, do you just want to introduce yourself a little bit? Maybe tell us a little bit about how you got into ultra endurance events and even what brought the thought on of even contemplating climbing Mount Everest.
Well, thank you for the intro to start with. My ego's just swelled a little. That's awesome. Thanks, Coach. I've always enjoyed running, and that's where my endurance-based event started from. In high school, it was good to get an extra day off to go to districts, and then another day to go to regionals. So then just kept going from there. And I realized, this is great fun. And I remember when I was a security guard, I'd let go of it after high school, and nothing brought me more joy than seeing this entry for the Gold Coast Marathon. And I thought, I could try that. I couldn't run 3 kilometers, couldn't do it. I was shot by the end of it, and then just inching my way up, just another K here, 5 more minutes here, working into it from there. And then after that, that was amazing. I've reached the pinnacle. And of course, everyone went, well, what about triathlons? There's a run, a swim, and a ride. I went, oh, okay. Yeah, I can run. Couldn't swim. I swam like a beautiful anchor. I punched the water. It was horrible. So got into triathlons, worked my way up. Of course, every time I'd flex, someone said, oh, you did an Olympic size? Well, there's a thing called a half Ironman. I went, oh, I'll try that. There's a thing called Ironman. I'll try that. And just kept getting worse and worse. And I tried it. I loved it. I did about 3 Ironmans. And in 2015, I was top 10% in the world, which was awesome. So I was an all-world athlete from that. And
hey, that's new news for me. You never told me that.
Yeah. I was 3-time Ironman completion and all-world athlete in the top 10%. Yeah. So that was like 10 years ago though. So then I had a few years off, and then I remember my ego was throbbing after my Ironmans. I did try to go to Everest Base Camp from there, and I was leading the pack. And I was rushing out front, and my Sherpas were saying, slow down, it's just base camp, there's no rush. And I let ego get in the way, and I got hammered with what was called acute mountain sickness. And this is on the way to base camp. This isn't intense. This is a bushwalk, just a little higher. And I was humbled. I was I was embarrassed. I had to get helicoptered out. I spent 3 days in a Nepalese hospital. It was really bad. I remember the next year I came
insurance for it, yeah.
yeah. The next year I came back, I was very slow. I was the slowest in the group. I was there with the grandmas and granddads taking the photos. I was so relaxed, and I had an amazing time. I went, okay, let's kick the ego out of this. Let's take this a bit more seriously, and let's see if we can go a little higher. And then I picked it up again a few years later, and for the last 5 years I've been going up and up and up. So it was Mira Peak, the world's biggest hike. Then it was Loboche Peak, which is, it's on the way to Mount Everest. Then there's one called Himal Himal, my first mountain in the 7,000 meter range. My apologies. And then,
he's finally, a busy man, guys. He's a busy man.
I wonder what my wife will say. I hung up on her. And then finally, it was Mount Everest, the training for that last year. Starting to ramble on, but it's been a process. It's been a process to get there.
No, that's all right. And just to give everyone some insight, that's how we met. Obviously, with Mount Everest, we can get a bit more into it soon. Just there was a lot of support needed for that. I think one of the biggest things that we noticed for you, like everyone involved in working with you, Grace, Dane. So Grace was the dietitian, Dane the exercise physiologist, and then myself as the trainer. We all knew you had the mental fortitude to get the job done, but it was more about looking after your body and fueling yourself. Allowing yourself to recover enough, making sure that you're actually fueling your body. Because again, it wasn't any sort of mindset block. It was just making sure that you're physically prepared enough to do it.
Yeah, and that was a big issue for me. It was slowing down. It was taking that time, because you've heard of David Goggins. I hope everyone has. Amazing. He was just push. And I was taking that mindset, but unfortunately, Mount Everest doesn't care about my story or how hard I train or how hard I push. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I need to have those 4 pillars. I needed to have recovery, which was a strong one, nutrition, which is a big one. A good physical training exercise regime, which you were amazing help with. Even Grace, she was telling me, too much meditation, you become depressed. Too much assertiveness, you become enraged. So I had to find that balance and to find that, to calm down. Because I remember at one point, physically I was strong, but mentally the wheels were coming off. And I remember saying to you, I'm like, I am tired. And we had a whoop on. We had the whoop on at that point, and it was at 1%. I was like, look, new record. You're like, no, man.
I was going to say it was the worst badge of honor. It's so counterintuitive.
Yeah, I wasn't proud. I wasn't proud. Yeah, the 1% club. Yeah, don't get there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was going to say, one second, but before we really dive into it, I wanted to touch on those points with even the ultra endurance events, and then leading into Everest. What is it for you that makes you want to chase those events? What is it for you that makes you want to challenge yourself?
All right. Question with a question. Why'd you do the marathon? Why'd you step it up a notch? Why?
Because it was something I hadn't completed yet, and I wanted to pretty much know that I could do it. And from that, like, my belief is it's giving yourself, I always say, giving yourself a sense of confidence that you can do something, reasonably well, and it gives you the confidence to go do other things. And then I think as a result of that, that allows you to feel a little bit more prepared for whatever life's going to throw at you.
And no matter what people say or what happens, you will never have that taken from you either. You completed a marathon. You know how rare that is, right? And I mean, in Australia, okay, a few people do it, but it's 1% of all people, 1%, and it gets even less the higher you go. So, ultra marathons would be your next, I believe. And it's the same with me with running and, these ultra marathons and the marathons before that, the Ironmans after that. It was just trying this thing, pushing yourself beyond that limit, because not only what other people say, it's a big distance, but you start wondering yourself, can I do that? And that plays on the, not ego, but what's the word the psychology of the mind. Can it be done? Can I do this? Am I capable of what's next? And this all flows into it, right? So, but I've got to warn you, the next problem becomes, all right, what's next after that? We have to really consider that, because, you go down that road, it gets dangerous, you might end up climbing Everest, so you don't want to go there. Sorry, buddy. So does that make sense?
Some people don't come back. So
yeah.
As we found out,
yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
We had
does. No, you're right. You go.
We had 14 in our team from all different parts of the world. 14, 7 completed it. So we had a 50% success rate. Crazy. 14, all the same dreams, vision, goals, all training hard, and 7 of us got there. And it's for a multitude of reasons, The cold's too much for some. Mentally, some people weren't strong enough. Physically, some people didn't train hard enough. One of our team members just fell down a crevasse. What do you do with that? He broke his knee, had to get elevac'd out. Another one lost 3 fingers. He actually made it to the top. He started dropping pretty quickly after that. But it could happen. And the problem is, it's almost a flip of the coin at that point. It's either you do or you don't. The mindset's got to be right. The physical training's got to be right. The discipline's got to be right. There's so much in it. Does that make sense? So yeah. Off topic, but
I'm interested in what do you think it is? Why do you think it sounds like a simple question. Why do you think it is that only a small minority of people will commit to those sort of challenges? Like, let alone Everest, but a marathon, or maybe someone in a very intense sport, or something with high risk. Why do you think it is that not everyone does it?
That is a great question. I've often thought about this. I believe there's still, for some of us, more to prove. So, for example, let's say the marathon, right? Most people won't get to that. They'll do 10. They'll be satisfied. Yeah, I can run 10. So, then another group will do the half marathon, right? That's sick. That's so good. Then another group will do the marathon, and that's less each time, right? And I think it's either something to prove to yourself that I can go further or longer, or in my case, I can pivot off and I can run a marathon while swimming and doing the bike ride, but I can go further and further. I don't know, short of saying we have something to prove, it's something you've got to find out why you do this, because everyone's why is different. What's your why? It could be different to what my why is, right? It's finding your why, understanding your why, and mastering your why. That's all part of it. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, man. I don't mean to be too zen about it.
No.
I wish I could answer it for everyone.
I love that. I think people need to see that you don't have to act like a macho guy or be a tough guy to do what are considered tough things, right? Like if anything, some of the people that you meet that do these things are so humble and a lot more secure within themselves. They don't feel like they're having to prove things to other people because they've already proved something to themselves.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I actually found, for me, after Everest, I lost, what's it called? That drive, that hunger, because why am I doing this? I'm at risk of dying at this point. I've seen the bodies. I have nothing left to prove. I could go up K2. Why? And you're right. I'm knowing I could do it. I've come back more relaxed, less assertive, and trying to refocus my goals as a result now. Because at the end of the day, sweet, I climbed Mount Everest, but it's how what do we use to grow through from what we've gone through? Yeah. So you grow through what you go through. Yeah. New levels bring new devils. And the reason I'm saying that is because now we've got to find a way to turn that pain into profit or into progress or into performance in a different field. So it's how do I turn that, remind myself of the hard times I've been through. So every time I'm having a hard day, I'm not waking up to go climb Mount Everest this morning. I'm not suffering in an ultra marathon. I'm not trying to squeeze a day and get an Ironman out of it. So that's I think one of the big takeaways from this is we have gone through this. Now, how do we keep going, knowing what we know and doing what we've done?
Yeah.
Thanks.
And even what we talked about prior to the call, you've just got a new job now, like it seems like what you had achieved helped you like in getting that position, not only in the news articles and whatnot, but the confidence that you have as a person. How do you think doing hard things translates to your personal and professional relationships?
All right. Well, that's a great question. So for me, like I was saying before, I was nervous, right, of trying something new because selling myself or selling a product or giving back, that's a new field for me. I've always been government or NDIS where I'm helping people, but I'm not selling. So for me to go into that new field, it was so scary. And then I realized, mate, shut up. You've been up Mount Everest. Is it going to be okay? Is anyone going to die? No. Does anyone care if you fail? No. It's just learning a new art, mastering it. And that's it. That's all we can do. Just give it your best. So for me, it's taking that, hey, I've done this. I'm well known in Ipswich now because I was the first to do it. These people respect me. These were good selling points. I had a horrible resume, don't get me wrong. All I did was training in the gym for the last year and climb a mountain. That's not a good selling point, but they didn't seem to care. So it was using what I had to leverage where I've been and what I've done to try and progress myself. And I hope we can all, have that ability too. So,
and I think
off topic, but that was...
No, that works. Like even just having that mindset, that mentality of like self-mastery, and then just challenging yourself and just focusing on progress and improvement. Like that's what an employer is going to want, right? They want someone with that sort of mindset there as well. And for some people, you can't just train it into them like that.
He's like, what can you provide that the other people, the other sales agents who have applied are going to provide? I'm like, well, I've never sold, but I will outwork them. I will outgrind them.
Yeah.
I'm not into this motivation. I'm into resilience and discipline. I will outgrind them 1% a day. They will think there's something wrong with me and I'll just keep going. He loved it. He loved it, right? So, and exactly what you're saying, right? So it's knowing my strengths based on my past to get me into that door and try something new. So to meld all those questions together, that's how it worked for me. I hope that helped. Yeah.
That is perfect.
Cool.
I think that helps a lot of people. That'll help a lot of people.
Yeah.
My next question actually reverts back to what we were talking to before with the ultra endurance events and Mount Everest. What do you feel like was some of the darkest moments or experiences that you had, and what kept you going? Like what helped you push through? If there's any memorable endurance events, ultra endurance events, or if it was just Everest.
Oh, all right. I won't get too dark. I won't go into the bodies or anything like that, but there were some very, very hard times. Starting to see these team members of mine fall off, just getting helivac'd out or it's not their fault. One of our members was just too old. His heart was ticking too fast and it was getting harder. We were losing friends. And then we started seeing the bodies and that was so hard too. And every step we go up, it's just exhausting. And the things that held me together was knowing at base camp, And it cost a lot of money, but at base camp, we had Wi-Fi. We had a Paul Sherpa bring up Wi-Fi for us, charged us a fortune, absolute fortune. But I had a grounding network where I could talk to my family back at home, right? And I knew that Grace had, Dane as well, he had tremor release exercises and grounding exercises. So meditation, for example, a bit of yoga, that was helped me clarify my thoughts and clear the mind. I was also ruthless and a different animal back then as well. Back in the day, 6 months ago, I was just angry. I wanted it. I was disciplined. I was hungry. And I had that mindset of nothing will stop me from getting this. So as hard as it got, I realized here's the countdown. All I have to do from the time I leave home is realize it will get harder until I reach the top of the mountain, and then it will start to get easier again. So I knew I had 2 months of not hell, but it started taking the little things. First, it was the creature comforts home. And then it was more things like, living in a first world country, because I was in a developing country. Then it was warmth, electricity, toilet, the little things, air, the very air I breathed, man. It was, they took that too. So, it was knowing, hey, this will also come to an end. And I was okay with that. So that got me through those hard times. And just happy memories. Like when we were training, you were teaching me what do you call it? The high rocks. that was a good memory of mine, going to the beach with the family. Yeah. So
that was so funny. We weren't even that far. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks out from leaving. We did that little high rock session together.
Yeah, so much fun.
We'd been so meticulous, like with this, like prep, and Dane was doing the programming side of things, and we're obviously like restraining how far we were pushing. And I was like, man, this guy just wants to have like a good sweat session, like let it rip a little bit. That was fun. Yeah, that was a good time.
Oh man, I loved it because I'm so sick of being in this altitude room. It was like a cage for me, man. I'm looking at everyone. I was in there for 3 hours by the end of it, or going for a bushwalk for the whole day. It sucked. I missed my family and my friends. I couldn't drink. I couldn't party. But it's a sacrifice we had to make. So So just happy memories. I clung to them.
Yeah. Do you think too, like you said memories, but obviously like family would be a big driver as well, like getting home, making sure you're there to see your wife, see the kids. Yeah.
And it's tough because it could go either way, Michael. It could, all right, why am I proving this? I've got a family back at home. I don't need to do this. Let's go home and see the little one. It could also work against you instead of for you. So it's just, it's reminding myself, for me, hey, I want my kids to grow up knowing that they can do anything because their dad climbed Mount Everest. So that drove me. So while you're right by saying family, you could also be wrong by saying family. So find the goal. If it's family, that's great. No matter what it is, just be more specific. I want my family to see me as a winner. So I need to do this. So I need to keep pushing hard now. And it doesn't have to be for everyone. But family's a great goal, but it could also backfire. Same with anything. Yep. So it's just being very, very specific about what you want, why you're coming back home, why you're getting to the top, and then pushing from there. So, you're right. Family was a big one.
That's a really good separation to make, though, that it could actually work against you, because I didn't think it. Immediately, I thought it working for you, not against. So
No. And it's like it could stop the best of us. Hey, I've got a family at home. Why am I doing this? It's not. I'm not earning any money from this. I'm not. You know what I mean? And Sorry, I'll prattle on otherwise, but you're right.
No, I love it, man. I was going to lead on to from that, going through some of the hard experiences you've had with ultra endurance events, with Mount Everest. What are some of the lessons? Do you think it's like some standout lessons that you've been taught by those experiences?
All right. The first one for me was, let's say it's a marathon or an Ironman. It's the same thing. It's just longer or different, right? You've got your stopwatch. You've got your timing yourself. Don't bother. Because especially with these ultra endurance events, right? The longer it goes, the more your mind starts to shift. And it doesn't, the first 5-10 hours, maybe not. But after a while, that time will work against you because you're getting tired. You're having a dip. At the same time, you're going up a hill. Your timer slows right down, and that could work against the psychology of the mind. So the timer doesn't matter. It's not I've got to, it's I get to. So I get to finish it Change that mindset, all right? It's not, I have to do this many more cases. No. I get to do this, and this is how much time I've got. I've got to beat this timer. I've got to beat this. So the timer can work for you and against you as well. So it's just be careful of the clock. It's not always your friend, okay? Don't mind it. You just know your start time, your finish time. Are you there to compete or to complete? So for those marathons and Ironmans, I want to beat it's my first time. Sweet. How many hours until I'm disqualified? Sweet. That's what I get to beat. Don't worry about the stopwatch the first time. Yeah, you get a few under your belt, you get a bit more experience, put it on. Try and beat your time. Go for it. But it could work against you those first few times. So don't even worry about it. Just try and beat the sag wagon or the stopwatch guy or the people that say, hey, you're out, you're taking too long. So that'd be my first advice for the marathons or the Ironmans. The second piece is we've been through a lot, all of us, no matter what field it's in, whether it's Muay Thai, Everest, whether it's boxing, no matter what the field is, right? We've all been through it. Yeah. Don't forget that. Yeah. Because we go through what we grow through. And we often forget in those hard times just how strong and resilient we are. So for me, it was great knowing that, man, I've been hammered in training. No one was, you didn't go easy on me. Actually, you're one of the nicer ones to me. Thank you, coach. But, and even then, no, I couldn't be easy on myself. I want to come home alive. So I remembered when I was having those hard times, just I've been through hell. I've been through hell getting to here. Now's the fun part. I get to walk up a hill, overrated, stupid hill. So I just remember this will not beat me. So don't worry about the timings. Remind yourself of how and where you've come from. That'll help you build that strength when the times get tough and push from there. Did that answer your question?
Solid. More than answered it, mate. Like, I'm not aware of like what the answers are going to be. So when it comes out and just seeing how much utility that's got for people, even with how specific when it comes to the ultra endurance training side of things, because when it comes to marathons, I guess sometimes you're like, yeah, I just want to get it done. But for the most part, people are like, here's the time I want to hit. And there's obviously a sharp difference when it gets to this ultra endurance, or like doing your Ironmans, that it's like, all right, well, if it's your first time, are you actually going to be able to complete this thing? Because you hear of so many people DNFing, especially in ultra endurance events, right?
They tap themselves out. Yeah. And it's so important to know. It can build on the psychology. You will fail from the mindset before you fail physically, unless it's one of those rare occasions where you're going to break something. And you're right. Yep. So in Gold Coast, for example, they have Markerman or Marathon or the balloon. The guys with the balloons. So you try paces, I think they're called. You try and keep the paces. As the distance gets longer, there's no one in the bush telling you this is the time we're running. So you've got to ignore it. You just got to do your best, make the most of it. You see a crowd waving at you, you hold on to that. That's great.
Yeah.
So and even with the marathons, if it's your first go, don't worry about the time. Just know, hey, this is the sag wagon group. Stay in front of them. You're going to complete it. Because, you're right. People tap themselves out. They DNF all the time. So don't be that.
Yeah. I like the point you make too. Like, everyone's been through it. Everyone's had their hard. And I think that's an important one to remember. It makes me think of it when it comes to the marathon. Say I get it done in 3 hours and 15 minutes, whatever it may have been. But there's people out there running for 5-6 hours. And I'm like, this is harder for them to do. Like, I get to leave, go have breakfast, and they're still running. So everyone's got their own level of hard. And I believe some people start with it being a lot harder. So I always give credit to those people. It's real funny. Man. It's like when I'm out on a run and, I'm out there training for a marathon, but I see a mum or a dad pushing the pram, running the dog. I'm like, I don't care how hard I think this is. They're out here taking care of other beings whilst they're getting their own fitness in. I always give credit. I don't care how fast someone's running. I'll always give credit to those sorts of people who are doing it not only just for themselves, but they're trying to manage other people or their pets around them.
There's nothing more embarrassing too than, you're doing the park run and there's a dad overtaking you with a pram. Get it out of here. Come on.
Yeah, it happens. I seen this guy a few months ago when I was training for the marathon and he was pushing the pram and he was running a 4:35, 4:40 pace. Wow. And I was just I'd passed because I'd picked up a bit. I was peeking through training and I just I pulled my earphone out and I'd said to him, I was like, mate, that is incredible what you're doing right now. And he appreciated it. Like he smiled and have a laugh. And I think it was a good point you brought up before when it comes to the ultra endurance events, but also the marathons. One of the most powerful thing is when you just get some random stranger cheering you on, like the power of the support that a stranger can give you. And it gets a bit deeper, right? It's like smiling at a stranger on the street at times. You never know the difference that you can make in someone else's life. And that's something that speaks to me from you. And I think I complimented you on in the past is that every day that you came into that gym, you were always saying hello to the girls on reception. You're asking people how they are. You're curious about other people. And again, it's just a testament to some of the things that you've done, not a lot of people are going to do in their life, but it hasn't gotten to your head, right? Like we all have ego and it can develop in a healthy way. But for you, it is, in your opinion, you'd have to let me know. It's helped you to treat other people probably better because you're not trying to prove anything to them.
No. And the thing is, what have they been through that I haven't? You know, there's a lot. I've been so blessed to not have the family dramas and hard upbringing and, you know, or the loss of an imminent family member, except for my dad. And even then, people have gone through much worse. I was so lucky. And to be honest with you, Coach, by the 6-month mark, it was pretty much a piece of furniture anyway at that gym. So it was it was nice to be able to talk to people and not just be stuck in the same room doing the same thing. So I loved it, man. Anything to keep me out for another minute. But yeah, no, you're right. I did love talking to these people and hearing their stories and what they're up to. The ones that got me were the ones that would go in and last just as long as me. I go, I'm insane. What are you doing in here? You know, why are you in here this long? And we heard some wonderful stories, people riding around Australia for, you know, charity or people trying their first ever ultra Ironman. I'm just like, wow, that is so cool. You know, so it was good to hear these stories. And I've never done an ultra Ironman. I've just done a Ironman. I couldn't do, I don't know. It's running in my head now. You know, I wonder if I could do that. But just to hear these stories, like, you know, everyone's got a story, man. So it's just finding their why as well. So, but thank you, man. Yeah, very humbling, very humbling.
I respect it. Again, it's like before, there's things that stand out in people, and generally for me, it's how they treat, I guess, other people as well. It's not just, you know, how fit they are or what time they run on their marathon or how much money they make. I think it's how you're treating other people around you too. Now, I was going to say, let's give the guys a bit of an insight into what your training actually looked like leading up to Mount Everest, just to give them an idea that you were trying to prepare, because I remember you always saying, I'm not going to let this mountain beat me. And you were so dead set on being physically prepared through your training. And that's where we had to get to the point of like being really, I guess, meticulous with like how much recovery you're having and treating yourself well nutritionally, and making sure you weren't overdoing it. I remember like the first deload we tried to do was for most people, it's probably twice the training they still do in a week. But yeah, let's go a little bit into what a week of training looks like for you.
Look, I had an easy day, and that was my last week. So not normally I went into Wet and Wild with the family to have some downtime. And while they were all playing on the rides together, I'd tread the water in that wave pool for 2 hours. You know, so that was good. I got time with the family and I got to tread water for 2 hours. I came out of the thing crawling. But so that's the thing, right? Once a week I'd go to the beach. That was Sunday. Beach day was fun. I'd run down that beach and I'd floor it back, okay? Maybe an hour or two. And then I'd go swimming with the family. And then I'd go swimming by myself, right? So I'd get beach time in, family time in, and then more training time in. It was a big day. That was the easy day. Another day would be bushwalk day. Sounds easy, but I remember by the end, I was taking a photo of the sun coming up, and then I was taking a photo of the sun going down. I was still out there, you know, in the dark. It sucked. And I mean, we're clocking over 12 hours by the end there. So there's 2 days there. Beach day with the family and bushwalk day. Those are two of the easier days for me. The gym days, I wish this was quick and easy, and I'll get to the point, but it would start with the PEMS machine, you know, something to relax me and warm into it. Then it would be, I wanted to talk to people. I was so bored at this point of just being by myself. So I'd go do Pilates to warm into it, get the body moving. Right, this is a session for most people. I loved it. I did the Pilates, had fun with people. Then I'd go hit training. I'd do my bike ride. Normally it's 2-3 hours by the end. And then Dave would have me doing his special mobility movement exercises, which could range dramatically. Anyway, that was about an hour and a half. And then Grace wanted me to have some recovery time, so did Dane, so did you. So I had to factor that in as well. And that was an easy day because sometimes I'd put core in there. Sometimes weights would have to come into there. Other times it would be extra mobility or strength training. So I could be at the gym easily 8 hours, 3 days a week. And I was. I remember seeing people come in. I remember seeing them go out. And that's the people that work there, not just the training people. So 3 days a week gym. One day was the easy one at the beach, and one day was the bushwalk. I had 1 day off. 1 day off. It was normally a Tuesday or Wednesday. It was Tuesday, sorry. And if I moved over 1,000 steps that day, I'd failed, right? That 1 day off was sacred to me. I would get a massage, and that's about as far as I'd move on that day. I was shot, dude. Oh, I love that day off. I treasured that. And, I missed my friends. I didn't get to see much of them. I'm missing a day here. What was it? 3 days gym? There was something else as well. I'd throw some rock climbing in there too. So after the gym, I'd get to finish off with the rock climbing. So, I'm getting to the rock climbing wall. They're asking how Everest is training going. I've got black eyes. I'm tired. I do sleep deprivation training. So I'd go all day at the gym, rock climbing at night, and then get up before the crack of dawn to go for the bushwalk the whole day. Saturday night would come. Dawn would pick me up in the car. I'd pass out in the car. I wouldn't make it to the bed. It was embarrassing. But yeah, so it was big weeks. Long. I think it was about 20 to 30 hours of training a week. So I wasn't quite there. I wasn't quite there for a standard job, but you have to remember a bushwalk takes 12 of these hours. You know what I mean? And some of those gym sessions, 4 to 8 hours. So I could easily catch up to 30 hours a week training. It sounds ridiculous. If you throw things like recovery in, it would have been even more. So, I'm not trying to cheat it, but it was big, a lot of training, and it didn't have to be hard. It just had to be long. Just had to crack the mind of going, this sucks. Let's callous the mind. Let's get through this no matter what. I don't want to ride this bike anymore. Slow down. All right.
I was gonna ask, on that point there, like a big part of it that we always talked about was that fact that obviously mental resilience has always been a massive thing for you, but this is probably one of the biggest points in your life where you're like, no, like I've got to be ready for this. Yeah, that was huge. Because people die, and they did. Mm-hmm. And, it was hard. We'd take photos and this is coping mechanisms. It wasn't dark humor, but it was like, all right, what do we call this guy? Scarecrow. He's been up here a while. There's not much left. What do we call this guy? A puppet master. Every time we had to go over and the ropes would move, his body would dangle. It was creepy, man. It was so scary. And I knew going in, I would see that. And that was so hard to deal with. So I think that scared me. That really scared me. I did not want to die on this mountain. I did not want to be one of those statistics. That was a driving factor. So it was anger because this a lot of people, not laughing, but a lot of people thought I couldn't climb it. And so I was driven by that anger. Then I had to relax. And then it was fear. Fear's a bigger driver than anger, man. I had no idea. And it's all the same thing for me. So it was just coming to terms with what if I don't? How do I prevent that? Let's push harder. And these are all driving motivators for me. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, cool, I think that's a really good point to bring up too, because it's been something I've contemplated recently. Listening to a podcast, or I'd watched some video about this. Why do you think it is that people usually are motivated more by fear than they are by love?
Oof. Oh, that's a great question. That is a great question. Well, motivated the shit out of me, didn't it? I mean,
I think it's very easy to recognize that it's something that's got us this far, humanity this far.
Yeah.
But why bring
it could
it up?
Be human psychology that I'm not aware of. I mean, it's a great. I'll have to think and reflect on that. You've got me there, Coach. I could blow wind up here and come up with something, but I think for me, my personal experience, I know I had my family's love, whether I passed it or not, right? But that fear was a driving factor for me because I didn't want to die on that mountain. I knew that was a very real possibility. I was afraid, which helped motivate me even more, right? It could be fight or flight. Was I running towards something or was I running from something? There's so much more to that question. Yeah. Let me know when you know the answer too. Yeah, that's a great one. Sorry, Coach. Oh, you got me.
I don't have the answer, man. I actually asked Yeah, I asked one of my yoga mentors the other day because I was talking
Yep.
about it too. And I was wondering, with a lot of what's going on in the world, I think a lot of it comes from that need for control. People want power because they feel unsafe deep down. And it's
Yep.
obvious, like we've grown through environments where if we weren't acting out of fear or reacting to that and behaving the way we did, well, we wouldn't have survived. And I think it's
Yeah.
as basic as that, is that fear is a bigger driver
Maybe.
because we are built to survive. But I
Yep.
just wonder, and it's only come up into contemplation, if that's how we slowly, over time, start to get rid of a lot of the, call it evil, that we see in the world, right? But yeah, I have no particular answer to it. I think I can understand more so why fear is a bigger driver. But I
Yep.
wonder what would happen when we start to move to the point where even just in business, right? Like in your profession, when we do things not because we're scared of not having money or we're scared of losing the job, but because
Yep.
we want to provide the best for the people that we're serving, or provide best for our boss, or just provide for our family. It all
Yeah.
comes down to that. And I'm sure, like
Yeah.
anything, it's a balance between the two, right? Like we don't have to choose just one or the other. But
No.
yeah, maybe, yeah, you,
It's
me,
look, look,
and the
look.
listeners, we can all contemplate it.
And that's right. So look, physically, fear drove me because I knew the possibility of dying was real. Where that love of the family was always going to be there. So fear was a bigger driver and a bigger, I hate to say it, motivator for me. Where financially, I could argue, hey, I'm mortgage free. I don't have to work at this job. So I'm stable. I'm not as afraid. So I'm not as. It's not a motivator for me, that fear. I do it
Yeah.
for a different reason. So you understand, like for me, I have different why related to that fear. So I have a different motivator as a result of. Sorry, man. It's yeah. It's a tough one,
No,
but it'll give me something to think about. That's a great question.
see what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the time that we all note this one down on the piece of paper. And we're like, after.
All right. Question time.
All right. So what I want to translate this over to now, like obviously a big mission with the podcast is how we can get this across to other people and give them some value in their lives. So how do you think ordinary people, let's just say ordinary, but people in general, can bring extraordinary resilience into their everyday lives? Like, how do you think they can start stepping towards building some of the resilience that you've built over time?
1%. 1%. So I didn't do anything special within a week, within a month, maybe even a year. Built up to that. It was 1% a day. I went into training, starting that first month, doing things that was less than a marathon runner would, doing less than things than a person in the gym would. And I just knew, just keep at it. So resilience training is very simple. It's just grinding. It's that 1% rule. Get 1% better each day, or work 1% longer, train 1% harder. Whatever your field is. So if it's sprinting, try and do that 1% faster. If it's, for me, resilience training, go that 1% longer. So that time frame will go longer. No matter what your field is, if you give the 1% rule, we overestimate. What's the saying? We overestimate our short-term capabilities, but greatly underestimate our long-term capacity. So if you just persist, most people can't do that. So in order to get that great resilience or that great endurance, don't try anything great straight up. Just take your time with it. If you have a big goal, you can get it. I got mine. I did nothing special. I just slowly built up that momentum over time. Slowly built, slowly saved, slowly grinded, kept it to myself, kept it in the dark. And then when the time was right and I started training, I shouted it to the roof. And then I kept pushing harder. But just slowly until that. So for me, for that sort of answer, the 1% rule. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You know the 1% rule. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I liked it because it's actually quite funny. The first time I heard of the concept, because it aligns with that Kaizen, right? The Japanese, I don't know if you call it, not like a proverb or something. I can't even think of the word. But it basically means the continuous pursuit of improvement, right? And then in Japanese, I think it's in business, it's where they came up with this 1% better everyday rule. That's why I love that culture over there, right? Like just some of the wisdom that they have and their approach to life. Because in the Western world, before we hear something like that, we're like, all of it now, get it all done now.
Yeah, go, get it.
All out mindset. It's not pacing it over time.
No.
It's a very beautiful, I think, approach to life. And when you look at it from the lens of self-mastery, like just doing better for yourself. And I think going on to that point before of not acting out of fear, but doing it as a form of self-love and self-respect for you to improve whatever your craft is or whatever it is that you're trying to do, with respect or love to yourself, knowing that at the end of the day, you're going to be more resilient to life in general. You're probably going to be a better person to the people around you, generally speaking, as well. So
you put it better than I did. That was beautiful.
I think it's a good response.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, next up, I want. Thank you. To be honest, I think we all just relay the information that we've heard in podcasts, books, right? I thought of that today with super smart people. At times, they've learnt this from somewhere else. And it's this concept with information, right? And if you hear people saying something motivational, like we've heard it at some point, and or we've read it at some point, or we've seen it, but then I feel like for a lot of us, we probably physically experienced it at some point in our life. So we go, that's what they mean. And you go, this is how it helped me through that time. But then on the other case, right? Like, and I think we can all be guilty of it. We can say something, but maybe we haven't lived through it yet. And I think that's particularly not just for men, for women as well, but for men when it comes to like integrity, sticking to your word. It's like, if you do talk about doing something, you've got to follow through with it. I'm constantly calling myself out for those things.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But that comes back to your point of giving yourself proof, like proving yourself what you can do and following through with your word.
Yeah, and to build on what you're saying, a smart man learns from his own mistakes. A great man will learn from someone else's. But for me, I wasn't that great man. I wasn't even that smart man. I kept making the same mistakes. What's the definition of insanity? Trying to get a different result and going, oh, shit, this isn't sticking. This isn't working. So, then I had to learn, all right, let's try and learn from these mistakes. And then it got to the point where I was like, all right, let's see what other people are doing wrong and grow from that. So, just little things. So I'd start listening to Audible while I was training, helped with the boredom, helped me grow, shifted the mindset as well. And then I got to learn new things like atomic habits or even finances, just things that would help me grow in the meantime while I was lifting those weights. Side note, horrible way to count weight. So when you're really listening to a good piece of music or a good beat, or something on Audible, yeah. But yeah, you're right.
I would say that's where you hire a PT, but we can't count either. So.
What'd you say to me once? I'm not an accountant, I'm a PT.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just keep going until it hurts.
It's shocking at times, hey, like even at times when I've been teaching yoga as of recently, there's times where you just count, or you miss a side, you miss a movement, or you've said, we're doing this movement 3 times, like a little tiger curl through from your 3-leg down dog, to be really specific. And then I'm like, hold on, wait, how many was that?
Close enough. That's great.
I was going to say, like, going back into what you said before, obviously the routine you had isn't realistic for most people, and it's not sustainable for most people.
No.
And that's what I was going to dive into is, like, what do you think are some habits that someone who is just trying to better themselves, like say a guy is out there not doing so well, maybe struggled with his mental health a little bit, and they're not at the point where they're highly motivated, or maybe they have been and they're falling off the bandwagon. What do you think are some crucial habits that you've had in your life that have helped you just to level up, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally?
All right. Well, if someone physically, mentally, emotionally. All right. So if I were to give advice to someone, if I'd be that ballsy to, I'd find a goal, find a why, find out what it is I enjoy doing and go pursue that, right? Because it's the pursuit of happiness. It really is, right? For me, it was climbing mountains. It doesn't have to be Everest for you. It doesn't have to be. It could be whatever you enjoy doing, and go pursue that. Find a why, find something you enjoy doing. Let's say, I'll give you an example. I came back home. I didn't train for a month. I was having a month off. I felt really sloppy. I was unmotivated. I lacked the discipline when I got back. I didn't want to train.
Sorry, brother.
But I enjoyed
I can
rock
hear
climbing.
you tapping your hand. 1 sec.
Oh, sorry, man.
Tapping your hand.
I enjoyed rock climbing, right?
Continue.
I knew I would get back into rock climbing. I had a why. I could train myself up. I could start training again. And it was something I enjoyed doing. So I got back into training by doing rock climbing. Does that make sense? So find your why, find something you enjoy, and then go hit that.
Yeah.
But meditation, yoga. If you're struggling with mentally, if you're having, depression or whatnot, maybe go do some yoga, have some self-reflection. There's many great teachers and many great classes, It doesn't have to be physical. For me, and maybe for you as well, I find punching a bag sometimes helps me, gets a lot of that vent up frustration out. But for other people, go sit in a class, go reflect, go write it down, journal it. So it's different for everyone. I wish I had a blanket statement, but it depends on what your problem is and then what your why is and then what you want to fix. Then find it, fix it, move forward 1%.
Yeah, I love it. I was going to say, no, that's fine. I had a thought the other week. I wonder how many people would rather walk or run for 24 hours versus sit in a dark room with nothing else in there for 24 hours. Like, I wonder who would prefer to move and who would prefer to sit. Now, obviously, running for 24 hours might not be realistic, but even let's say walking, I wonder how many people would prefer that option as opposed to just, sitting dead still, like you're trying to meditate, but you're there for 24 hours. And like, maybe if you need some water or something, you can have some water, but you literally just have to sit there with no other distractions. What would you choose?
The run every day. I've run for 24 hours before. I've never sat silently in a room and tried to grow for 24 hours. In fact, you might have me on that challenge. I don't think I could. Could you? Could you sit there for 24 hours and meditate?
It's kind of like saying this is how I'd fight Mike Tyson if I jumped in the ring. And you know the old saying, you get in there and you just get knocked out.
Don't until you get smacked in the face.
Punched in the face. Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be interesting. I'm sure I could do like an hour, no problem. It'd be one of those things though, if you're going to challenge yourself, maybe you just level it up over time. But I would be on the other hand, I'd probably rather walk. I don't know how I'd go running for 24 hours, but I'd rather move my body for that amount of time before I had to sit down.
I've done the Guzzler. That was an ultra marathon. You've got 28 hours to complete it. It's 100 kilometers. I did that in 20 hours. So it's the closest I've been to that theory. Or Ironmans, you've got 17 hours to complete a certain distance. Yeah. So I've been close on that a few times. I know my chances, statistically speaking, of doing the walk or run for 24 hours are much higher, much higher than sitting in the dark spot and trying to meditate for 24 hours. And yet, my Sherpas, they have this practice where it's part of their religion. I think Buddhism's not a religion. I think the Buddhists, they have a practice similar to that.
Buddhism's a religion, isn't it?
I don't think it's a god. So therefore, it's not a religion. It's a practice of the art of peace. And don't quote me on that. I'm sorry. We'll check that. We'll fact check that later. But it's part of their practice. Yeah. They will.
I'm not at that. I'm not at that point with my podcast where I can go, "Hey, check that for me." Like Joe Rogan can with the.
Yep. You'll get there, buddy. You'll get there. Don't worry. But they do that. They do this practice, and I same question. I go, how? What? Yeah. What would possess you to? Yeah, it's incredible. It's something I couldn't do. No way. Let me know. Look, I've done 3.5 hours of Calm before on a mini retreat. That's as far as I've gotten. So, let me know if you can beat that one. All right, we'll work on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Done. I think it's interesting. It's interesting from the lens of, I think, and maybe it falls into our next question. There's certain benefit from a personal development and maybe even a spiritual level to people doing really hard things, like doing an ultra endurance event, but at the same time also going and, not talking for a day. Or they have this thing called, is it Vipassana? I'm not sure if I said that correctly. It's a 10-day retreat that you do out in Pomona, and it's 10 days where you don't talk. They eat a specific diet. But they don't talk for 10 days. And I think it's interesting. And this is, I guess, what I'm passionate about with the podcast and the Daily Discomfort is achieving high performance and balancing it with well-being for men, because a lot of the time I think we just lean into one or the other a little bit too hard, and we need to find that balance. And maybe it is at different times, but I think also understanding from a personal development level and a spiritual development level without getting too woo-woo for anyone listening, I think there's a lot to be gained through, running a marathon and doing an ultra marathon, learning about yourself and what comes up in those experiences, but then also taking the path of breath work, meditation, faith, and these sorts of things too, to really finding the balance for you and getting the most out of this life that we get to live.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that, I think that's the art, isn't it? It's doing something practicing it, trying something new. So for me, it was always go, go, go. So for me to stop and reflect and to have that peace without, like you said, getting too woo-woo about it. It was amazing. So good for me. I loved it. Calm down, bro. Just to take it down to that level and stop and think of my why and how are we going to do this. And for me, sometimes I couldn't picture the top of Mount Everest. So for me, in that reflection, I would go, all right, here's the top. Let's reverse engineer, work our way down. How do I get to base camp? All right, sweet. How do I get to Nepal? Sweet. How do I get to the end of training? So for me, it needed that reflection and that meditation for me to grow physically. And it can work both ways too. It might be the yin to the yang. Here I said, let's not go too woo-woo, but you might need one to have the other. You know, you can't always just be all of one and none of the other. It's not going to work. Not for those big goals anyway. You know, it might be serving you for up to a certain point. It did for me, but sooner or later, you're going to need both. So
yeah. I only say the terms woo-woo, right? Like I used to say it a lot more meaningfully when I heard, a teacher saying something weird when I hadn't learned a lot about yoga or really taken enough time to spend time in stillness or read different things, right? I think I say it because, like I said, there's a lot for people to learn through doing things that are physically hard and doing things that are challenging in your life. But I think at the end of the day, what we've always got to remember is that all that, when it's taken away from us, who are we beyond that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people thrive off our achievements and how that looks to other people. And sorry, just to reinforce on it, when I say woo-woo, it's because I want to encourage people to do what we talk about, like pushing yourself physically, challenging yourself in your career, but probably being open to the fact, and we're seeing it more and more in the world now where people are moving towards faith, moving towards Christianity, people moving into things like yoga, into Buddhism, because not only is it like guidelines to live a good life, treat people well, I think around you, it's like how you treat yourself and other people. But I think at the end of the day, we're probably going to move to a point where we realize there's a lot more connectedness between us across the world, and someone, whatever it may be, is in control of that.
Oh, the
segue,
whatever that is. Yeah. No, that's great. I can't beat that. I can't top that. You're right. And there has to be some balance too. So for me, when I was training, family was, next. That I didn't see them much. Religion was gone. I was still religious, but that was out of the way. And to get all that back now, to get those levels back up there, I am more grateful. And I'm going to miss that time of my life, but I can't grow old being the mountain climber. So for me, it's to have that ability to just when I want to have that meditation or reflection or spiritual time, go out with the boys, the youth group, and train them and teach them and take them up the next mountain, or have that time with the family because I've got that ability of time now. So there's a time and a place for it as well. And I'm not saying it has to come at the back, but you've got to figure out when it's time to push, when it's time to climb that mountain, when it's time to go hard in that event. And you've got to find out when it's time to push for work or finances or family or religion. It doesn't always have to be here for everything. There's going to be times where they're out of whack and they're in balance. Such is life for me. And I'm not sure if everyone is the same, but for me, I've got times where it's here, times where it's here, and times where it's come back here. Some people, they're fine living like that. But I find that if we can find out what we need to push at most, have that fine balance or as well as we can, that's life. That's, and it's back to the 1% rule, isn't it? Let's just grow in this field now. I've left it alone for long enough. Like the question you asked before, if someone's fallen off the wagon or if they've had that hard time, how do you get back onto it? Oh, sweet. Start small. Let's work up from there. Let's do some woo-woo, let's get into yoga. Let's work the mindset. Let's go from there. So tying it all together, I think that's the best way to move forward. Does that make sense? Awesome.
I love it. Getting to the point of balance. And I think that's what a lot of us can be missing at times too. So it's good even to get it from the inside of like, you can't turn all the burners up on the stove equally to their fullest capacity and expect them all to work well. Or, that kind of analogy there. You've got to kind of channel it at times.
From a fitness perspective for you as well, Coach, did you find that you can bench press the most weight you've ever benched while still being the fastest person ever?
Oh, firstly, I'll say I've never been able to bench press a lot of weight in general. But I definitely
me either, don't worry. I was 100 kilos, I was happy. I was like, yeah, come on, little arms, let's go. So
that's pretty much the rite of passage for any man, is just to get those 220 plates on either side, 100 kilos. You're like, done, all good now.
We've done it.
I couldn't. I haven't benched anywhere near what I did when I was powerlifting in years, and that's because I turned it up on Muay Thai, turned it up on running. Yeah.
Oh, and that's right. And the reason I mention that is because some field had to get sacrificed, right? Let's think about this. In order for you to be that power lifter, your chest is going to get bigger, your shoulders are going to get more jacked, right? Your arms are going to get bulkier, right? If you're doing it right, you're going to get bigger. And when you get bigger, I won't bore you with the science, and I don't mean to disrespect you, you know better than me, but the bigger you get, the slower you get generally, right? So you've picked to lift, and that's okay, but it means running's going to take the hit, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. All right, sweet. You've dropped off the weight. You're doing marathons. Your running's up. You're not going to lift what you used to.
Yeah.
To try and find that balance, the best of both worlds. That's awesome, man. And sometimes, like I'm saying, you can find one more than another, but just know when you need to improve something, what takes the sacrifice. What did you have to give in order to get that? And for me, I knew it was family. For me, I knew it was time. It was a lost job. It was a year of my life training for it. So for me, it was like, okay, this is what I'm going to have to give up. This is what I have to let go of first in order to get this climb. So also know your why and what you're giving up and what you're doing it for. So that was powerful for me because it made it more real knowing that this is what I've already lost as a result of. Yeah. So anyway, I'm rambling now. But yeah.
I love it. I nearly started laughing before though, because there's a running joke when it comes to balancing, strength and endurance training. You're either going to be a good power lifter or a good runner, or maybe slightly above average at both, which is the hybrid athlete, right?
Yep.
Mate, before we wrap up today, I think there's been a lot of value in this so far. I had a question written down, but I think I just want to adjust it a bit and just make it a little bit more authentic. If there's any advice out there for someone who's trying to embrace discomfort into their life, like we talked about before, from the point of like improving themselves, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally, what advice would you give them outside of just doing it 1% at a time? What are some other tips you might have for them?
Okay. Sorry, restate that question for me again. So without using the 1%.
I had the most long-winded questions. Yeah. So sorry, you've talked about the 1% rule. Can you pretty much add to that an advice for someone listening to the podcast now who's just trying to get somewhere better in their life, improve either on a physical, mental, emotional, or all three of them, all of those levels, maybe their relationships with their family, their partner, whatever it may be. What do you think some more advice that you would give them based off your experiences?
Well, we'll keep the 1% rule out then. I will reiterate by saying don't rush it. Trust the process, don't rush the process. All good things take time and all good things come to those who wait. So why are we rushing this? What do we want? Let's focus on the goal. And for me, sometimes let's work backwards. How do you get to here? Well, let's get to here. How do we get to here from here? Let's get to here. So sometimes work your way back. If your goal is to have, let's say, this beautiful partner that you've been talking to, for example, okay, how do we go on the first date? All right, how do we make that call? All right, how do we approach or how do we question? It's working backwards. So that always helps for me. Trusting the process. Don't rush the process. All good things take time. And just enjoy it. You've got to enjoy what you do. Otherwise, what's the point? This is the pursuit of happiness, right? So if you're not doing it for the right reasons, also question your why. And that's powerful for me. I had a good why going into this. Know your why. I know it sounds really zen, but if understand your why, understand why you're doing it and why you enjoy it and go for it. And sometimes you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and that's okay too. You can always readapt, readjust, and move from there. Hope that helped, Mike. Yeah?
That was beautiful. Again, exceeded my expectations.
Awesome.
Mate, just finally,
pleasure.
I think I just want to leave the guys too with what's on the cards, like what's going on for Matty Stevens in future. What other goals do you have set for yourself moving forward?
You there, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've lost you, coach. What was the question? I missed the whole thing. You just zoned out.
Yeah, you blurred for a bit. So what's on the cards for you? What's on the cards for Matty Stevens moving forward? Post Everest, obviously you're getting to work now. Are there any other particular events that you've got on your mind that you'd like to conquer in future?
There is a 100 miler. I've done 100 kilometers. I've never done 100 miles. I believe that's 160 kilometers. So they've got an event where you can do that, and it's nice and close. So my wife won't murder me because it's in my backyard. There is K2 that was on the cards if I can get sponsorship from the government, because I'd be the first person from Queensland. So this, I could go back to the mountains, but once again, why am I doing that? Now I've done Everest. Or I could try a longer distance. But right now I'm happy. And it's come in cycles for me where I do the marathon, then recover. I do the Ironmans, then recover. I do the ultra marathons to recover. Now I've done the mountains. It's time to recover. So for me, it's just, all right, let's have more of the family. Let's have more. I'm working now, which is great. I'm back into full-time work, which is so cool, and it's just, like I was saying, building those levels up, recovering, helping the family, helping myself, growing with the community now based on what I've done to help them grow as well. So I could go either way, but I don't want to yet. I'm not ready. Let me have some downtime. I'll be back. Just give it a few years. So yeah,
just a few months long deload, and we'll
year or two, buddy. Give me at least a year. My church group want me to take them up a mountain. I'm going, no mountains, please. No.
Not yet.
So yeah, not yet. Let's focus on work for the time being, and then I'll get back to it after.
Yeah.
So yeah. But the beautiful thing about endurance is you get better as you get older because the mind gets stronger. There comes a certain time where the body starts giving, but 30s, 40s, even 50s, you're still pretty strong for it. So yeah, I'm very lucky, very lucky. Anyway, been my absolute pleasure, Coach.
I look forward to that as I start to head towards it. I'm not, 10 years, I'm at 40, nearly just over 10 years, I'm at 40. So
yeah, wow. So 4 years for me. So yeah, don't worry. You've still got a few years on me. We're in our prime, buddy. Don't worry.
Mate, I appreciate your time today. I would love to actually, even at some point, have you back on the podcast in future. Obviously cool. Said we're gonna catch up soon again as well. I'm not sure if I said it today, but yeah, I think if we do a little session, and I know there's one thing that you love doing that I don't love doing, that's cold plunges. So I think we're due for
let's get you in there.
Yeah.
You were fun to watch last time we hit that. Great fun.
All right, mate.
We'll catch up.
All right, mate. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it, and I'm sure you gave a lot of value to the listeners today.
I hope so. But thank you for having me. The pleasure was all mine. And you take care, all right?
Awesome, mate. You too. Thank you.
See you guys. Take care.